normally on Fridays we're doing some type of review, and I guess in some respects that is kind of still what we're gonna do today. But the thing is, what I had intended to review um, was the test we took yesterday. But take a while, guess why I can't review the test we did yesterday yet, Chris? Yeah, yeah. You should know. Why can't I review? Like, originally, my plan was to review the test that we took yesterday. Well, why can't I review the test that we took yesterday? Well, it's not just you. It's not just me. It's not a handful of people not showing up yesterday. Many of them are not showing up today that haven't taken it. So I'm gonna give them until Monday. Yourself included. Is there anybody listening at home did not take the test yesterday, or if you're going back and listening to the video, you have until Monday. Meaning that on Tuesday I will review the test. Meaning if when Tuesday comes and you still have a zero in the grade book, it's gonna stay a zero. Speaking of the grade book, if you look in your e-class, I've already posted the test grades. Sadly, yes, those are the curved grades that's after a curve. So it was very good. Some people did pretty well, but a lot of people did not do very well. So after all the makeups get taken, I'll send out the results. Any questions about anything I said so far? All right, so back to today then. So since I can't go over the test, and since we don't have a weekly assignment this week, what I decided to do is to move on to the beginning of week 6. But what I'm gonna just do, instead of like having like a full day type of stuff, I'm just kind of gonna give you a little bit of a taste of it. Like I'm not gonna. Right now it's 1:23. I should be done by about 1:55. I'll make the latest. I'll do the first few slides. Even though we're getting into kind of a new concept like next week, really, the main thing I want to focus on today is circumference. I'll give you a little bit of a taste of the new stuff, so that way if you want to get started with the homework assignment, or sorry, the weekly assignment for next week, for week 6, if I'm done with that, you can get started over the weekend. Which actually brings up another point. I need to send out progress reports today. I haven't done it yet, but I'm kind of doing it before I leave today. I'll send out progress reports. And like I said, some people might like their grades, but a lot of people will not. Now, what I find interesting is, in the past, one of my students or one of my athletes is not doing good in the course. One of the funny things I hear, oh, but I didn't turn this in, or I didn't turn that in. And I always find that kind of interesting because typically under most circumstances, homework is only worth 5% of his grade. So because of the digital aspect of this semester and what we're going through this pandemic and stuff, we were asked to consolidate our categories. There's not as many categories. There's not a quiz category. Right? We're down to basically just 3 categories. And most of you are just at home. It isn't even call it homework anymore. So you're staying at home. Long story short, for the first time, now this homework actually has some weight to it. So, and as much as you guys might hate homework, I'm pretty sure you like it better than you like tests. So, homework has a little bit of more weight attached to it, but the things you guys like to do the assignments. When I was looking at the grade book, yeah, like the test average was like maybe 40 something percent. Yeah, it might have been higher for the students that had MPI. The test average, let's say, was in the 40s. The homework is also in the 40s. So, I mean, that's not telling me that the stuff we're doing is too hard. It's just that people aren't motivated. So, I would hope that you would get a head start on the week 6 assignment, MEC. Nothing is due this weekend, but week 6 will be due next weekend. So, get a head start. Alright, so then let's move on to the lesson. Basically the entire next unit. It took us like 4 weeks to get to a test now, but this next test is coming right up. It's like 2 weeks. So even if your grade is not too good, you're gonna have a chance in the near future to bring it up. But this next test is gonna basically deal entirely with this. arc length. One of those words we've worked on very recently. What word do you recognize from very recently? I need somebody, because there's only like 6 of you here today, so I need somebody to like take a lead here. Yes, arc. Thank you, Chris. Arc. So we've been working with arcs lately, but specifically what we've been working with. Can I see you, please, Mohammed? Jorge, we're just doing this. We've been working with arc measure. Now we're going to move on to something called arc length, but we've been working with arc measure. What units are arcs measured in? When I talk about arc measure, which is what was on the previous test, what unit have we been measuring arcs in? In degrees. In degrees, good. But now when we're talking about arc length, we're going to be using units of distance, units of length. We're going to use feet, inches, centimeters, meters, whatever that case may be. And since we already know that an arc is part of a circle, okay, we can kind of lean on what we already know. But if we're moving over to distance now, units of distance, what do we call the distance around the entire circle? It's circumference, yeah, it's on the board. So in that respect, even though this kind of looks like a new lesson, it's not really a new lesson because we spent an entire week going, it was also area, we did area also, but we're doing circumference and area, right? So this is not entirely new. There are, oh man, I got to do this. I'll write them again. I think it's too much here, though. There are 2 main formulas that we use for circumference. What are they? How many formulas are there for circumference? Find the circumference of a circle. Yes, there are 2. Thank you, Chris. There are 2. They're over here in these blue circles. And we've already seen these. What's the difference in them? One requires you to put in a radius, one requires you to put in a diameter. That is not new. But now here's what is new. If that's the entire circle, how can I find the distance around part of a circle? Well, the formulas I'm about to give you, I have never seen in a book before. This is Papa Romero's watered down version of trying to make things as easy for you as possible. You want to go look up in a textbook or online the formula for arc length, be my guest. But trust me, I've done a lot of simplifying for you. And just like the circumference formulas, I'm going to give you 2 of them. Let me clean this up. Those are the 2 formulas there. Right. One of them has a radius. This is the one that would have been giving you a radius. And one of them has a diameter. Now we're going to use these mostly next week. I'm going to do a couple of problems today with these, but not many. Today we're going to just focus on circumference. So let's dissect these. Let's look at the formulas and see, what we need. Okay? Like I said, I tried to make these as easy for you as possible. So here's the first step in the process. If you have to find the length of an arc, what makes this easy is I've shown you is whether they're giving you the radius or the diameter, either one, just stick a pi next to it. Whichever one they give you, radius or diameter, stick it next to pi. Okay? Then, right next to that, you're going to have to multiply that by a fraction. Now, what both of those fractions have in common is that we're going to have to get the measure of the arc, whatever the arc measures, and again, for the second time today, what are arcs measured in? Degrees, thank you, Chris. So we're going to get the arc measure, so that really the only thing that's different about the formulas is that if you're using the one with diameter, you got to divide the arc measure by 360. But if you're using the one with radius, Please divide the arc measure by 1/8. Again, we'll do this mostly next week, but I'll give you a little bit of a taste of it so that if you want to try to get a head start on your weekly assignment for next week. Any questions before I move on? Jorge? ¿Alguna duda? Jorge no se encuentra. Leave a message at the beat. Oh, there's Jorge. I just wanted to say. All right. Find the radius of a circle with a circumference of 75 meters. This should seem somewhat familiar. This is not new. It's incorporated into the lesson because, you know, we're dealing with arc length, and arc length and circumference are related. But find a radius. I've already spent part of this year showing you how to find a radius when they give you a circumference. What can I do to a circumference in order to find the radius? Back in week 2 or week 3? 75 times pi, no. If you look at the formula says circumference is equal to 2 pi r. But then I even showed you a quicker shortcut. Close. 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 I want to get the r by itself. Thank you, divided by 2 pi. So they tell me the circumference is 75 and I divide by 2 pi. Now it depends. If the directions tell you to leave exact, well then all you can do is simplify. And actually this couldn't be simplified. You might actually would have to leave it like this. But let's just say that we don't know what the directions say. Let's do both. If they say exact, you leave it like this. But if they say around, now what do I need to do? What do I need to do if they ask you around? It starts with C and ends with calculator. Yeah, we're going to use the calculator, which is just as important because a lot of people do not know how to use the calculator. But that's what I want somebody to put in their calculator 75 divided by 2 pi, and I'll let you know if you did it right. Use the pi button. Let's just round for argument's sake. Let's do it to the nearest hundred. ¿Dónde está tu calculadora? Lo dejaste con los pajaritos en la casa. What'd you get? Okay, well, let's go to hundreds. You get a different number than I got, though. Did you put 3.14? Well, you get 2 pi, so whatever you say. Yeah, but you're getting, look, have you ever turned your calculator sideways? You do it a little bit. Yeah, use your pi button. It's still rounding, but it's more precise. Anybody at home want to give it a shot? Does anybody have a calculator at home? Agree? 117, is it crazy?
There's 471.
No, because you gotta put the 2 pi in parentheses.
471.
What? Yeah, you're having the same problem as she is. You gotta put the 2 pi in parentheses. You should get approximately 11.94.
That's what I said.
I know that's what you said, but you also had a different decimal this year, so you just got lucky. If it would have, it's possible that could have rounded down, and we would have gotten 2 different things. Very, very close, yes, but it's not the exact.
Wait,
So
what was it?
put 75, but then when you put the 2 pi, put the 2 pi in parentheses. Go speed. Go speed. Dividido por 2 speed. The 2 pi on your calculator should be in parentheses. Did you get that now? Jeanette?
Yes.
Muhammad, you're my calculator guy, man. I'm hurt. I haven't heard from you yet, and you were supposed to be my calculator guy. Alright, I'm gonna move on. Find the length of arc AB. So again, for the first time we're hearing this word length. I'm not gonna do many of these today, but we'll take a little dabble. We'll still have plenty of these to do next week. So when I'm gonna find arc length, instead of using the circumference formulas, I'm gonna use the arc length formula for it. Just like with circumference, I gave you two. The one you use, um, the one you use depends on what you're being given. Which one should I use here? Yes, I should use the radius one. So, alright. What did I tell you to do first then? Regardless of whether they gave you radius or diameter, what did I tell you to do first? I said, hey, let's first just do this. You have to make it as easy as possible, as uniform as possible. What did I tell you to do first? Very beginning, when there was no throw up, I said, get the radius or the diameter and do what to it? No, I did not say divide by 2. What did I say to do? No. I said, get the radius or the diameter and stick a pi next to it, right? Right here, the radius is 5, so I'm going to say 5 pi. That's the first part. But I need to multiply it by something. And I know that something has to be a fraction. Regardless of what goes on the bottom of that fraction, actually, let's do the bottom part first. Because it's a radius that I'm being given, what needs to go on the bottom of that fraction? There's your 180, Muhammad. And then on top will always go the arc measure. Now, they're not giving me the measure of arc AB, but they are giving me the measure of this central angle. And what is the relationship between a central angle and the arc that it intercepts? Not times 2. What was that? Was that Jeanette or was that?
What's the same?
Okay, Jeanette, yeah, that's congruent. So now all I gotta do is simplify this. How you simplify it is up to you. A lot of you guys have been trained to just put this into a calculator that has math print, and the calculator does it for you. Assuming that hasn't been the case, I know that when two numbers end in 0, I can cancel out the zeros. So really this just becomes 15 over 18. Anybody at home or over here, can you think of a common number that I can divide both 15 and 18 by? Is there one common number that I can divide both 15 and 18 by? Thank you, Muhammad. I can divide them both by 3. If I do that, the 15 becomes a 5, the 18 becomes a 6. So if I were to rewrite this now, this would be 5 over 6 times 5 pi. Now I can't do anything else because if I wanted to write the 5 pi as a fraction, it would be 5 pi over 1. And there's nothing else that's in common that I can cancel. So all I can do is multiply. 5 times 5 is? 25 pi over 6. This is the exact arc length. But just so that we get extra practice, let's say they wanted us to round. What could we do if they wanted us to round? What could we do if they wanted us to round? As we, that, you can't even do your round or estimate. What do you think of first? Muhammad's favorite toy. The calculator. Just use the calculator. There's 25 pi button divided by 6. 18.1. If you're gonna go to the nearest tens, yeah, they don't really tell you. When they don't tell you, I don't get too strict, but normally my rule of thumb is when they don't tell you, I go to the hundreds. So I would say it's about 13.09. 13.1, that's fine. Okay, good, any questions? Alright. Find the circumference. Ooh, okay, well, for circumference, we have two formulas. But based on the way this diagram is set up, which is the one you think we're gonna have to use to find circumference? Based on the way this is drawn. Yeah, we're probably gonna have to use the radius one, which says circumference is equal to 2 pi r. I know what 2 is, I know what pi is, but I need to know r, the radius. And these are the radii here. Do they tell us how long the radius is? No, so we're gonna have to find it. How are we gonna have to find it? By using a formula for arc length. Well, we're still dealing with radii, right? So for arc length, we have two formulas, but only one of them deals with radius, so let's use that one. Now, the difference is here, they're actually giving me that arc length, they're not asking me to find it. I'm actually going to need to use that formula to find the radius, okay? So they're giving me the arc length, which is 81. That is equal to, and then I told you on the other side, get whatever the radius is, but we don't know what the radius is, and stick a pi next to it. What am I going to divide, what's going to be on the bottom of the fraction next to it? It's going to be 180 because of the radius. And then the only thing with the other thing I need is arc measure, okay? Which, how many degrees are there in this arc because of the fact that that's a central angle? 260. Very good. So now we got to get the r by itself. We got to figure out how to get rid of all this. Not that you have to, but I like to simplify, like they do in the hood. Because both of these numbers end in 0, I can knock out the zeros. Is there a common number I can divide 26 and 18 by?
Ahora se divide el 23 por 18.
¿Qué?
Se divide el 23.
Ok, pero no se pueden dividir. So, hay otros números que se pueden simplificar. Yeah, they can both be divided by 2. 26 divided by 2 is 13. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So we get 81 is equal to 13 pi r over 9. Can you follow me so far? Alright, now let's start working on getting the r by itself. What would I have to get rid of first if I want to get the r by itself? Not the 13 pi. I want to work my way outside in. 81. I would want to get rid of the 81. 81? What? Sorry, you're just guessing?
The 9.
Sorry, yes, the 9, thank you. I'm trying to get r by itself. I want to get rid of the 9. Bam, 9 is gone. Multiply. That's 729 is equal to 13 pi r. What do I want to get rid of next? The 13 pi. How am I going to get rid of the 13 pi? Divide by 13 pi. Now you could try to divide 729 by 13 in the calculator, but it's not going to work. It's going to give you a decimal. We don't want a decimal, so unfortunately, even though we don't like fractions, we're going to have to just leave it like this. The key is, though, that we are actually able to find this radius that we needed. So what should I do next?
No.
Nothing?
I thought you couldn't do it.
Thank you. Substitution. I came here to find circumference, so let's find circumference. Circumference is not going to 2 times pi. Times is 729 over 13 pi. And it works out nicely because this pi cancels out with that one. Now, 2 and 13 can't be reduced, so all I can do is multiply. 2 times 729 is 1458 over 13. If you want to be exact, that's as far as you can get. But I doubt a problem with these types of numbers will tell you to leave it like that. This is probably something where they would ask you to round. So let's put that in the calculator and let's round. What is 1458 divided by 13? Mohammed, come on, Chris is going to beat you, Mohammed.
112.32.
gentleman and a scholar. If they wanted a unit of course would be pulgadas. Any other questions there? Remember, these notes are also on the content part of my e-class page. The kids that come in person get a printout of it, everybody else has to print it out on their own. I told you before, it doesn't look like a lot of people took advantage of it, but who knows, but I told you, there's really no way for me to control it, on those tests, you can use the notes. And I think this is the last page already, yeah, this is the last page of this page. So most of the stuff will be next week, this will be the last page, you know, every single one of these asks for, or at least the first four ask for circumference, but they want both the exact circumference, and they also want us to round. So let's start off with the exact one. What formula are we gonna use for number one, and number two for that matter? They're both radius, so what's the formula for circumference that has radius in it? 2 pi r, thank you. 2 pi times 12. 2 times 5 times 9. This gives me 24 pi. But wait, there's more. They also ask us to round. So let's go use our trusty calculators now. Come on, Mohammed, you can do it. What's 24 times 5? This one they want to the nearest 10, so at least here they're being specific. What is this to the nearest 10? Nearest 10. 10, so. Somebody, come on, man. I'm letting you leave the class like 15 minutes early if you just get through this stuff. Short enough, please. That, anybody? 24 times 5. I'm good near 10. Jorge said BRB, so I can't call him Jorge. Oh, he's back. Jorge, do you want to do it? What's 24 pi? Oh, what's the nearest 10 would be 4. Very good. 75.4. Okay, how about 18 pi? What would 18 pi be? $56 point what? 56.5. Okay, look at the next two. We're still dealing with circumference, but what's different about these? What's different about these? And look at what's different about these. Yeah, the diameter, so the formula becomes easier. Now the formula is just going to be take the diameter and take a pi next to it. Yay! Nothing else to do there. The diameter is just pi times the diameter. But wait, there's more. Put it in the calculator, tell me what you get. What is 8 times 5? 8 multiplicado por pi. It is 25.1. Another tricky one. What is 16 pi rounded to the nearest 10? $50.3, yeah. Some people see that and they just double it. They see the 25.1. So actually, if you're rounding properly, it rounds up. Any questions so far? And then for the second and third time today, we are being given a circumference and being asked to find the radius. So somebody not named Esmeralda, tell me when they're given a circumference, I can turn it into a radius. Good, divide by 2 pi. Even though the directions here are not very exact, anytime you start with decimals, they probably want you to end with decimals. So we're not gonna try to simplify this or anything, let's just go ahead and round this. Go ahead, practice putting it in your calculator, remember that the 2 pi was to be in a parentheses on most calculators. And tell me what you get, and I'll tell you if it's right. This one doesn't tell you where to round, so let's just keep it to the nearest 10 then, I guess. What would this be to the nearest 10? Yeah, 53.0. And then how about this next one here? Again, we go 25.1 divided by 2 pi. 25.1 divided by 2 pi. And that's like 84.0. If you're carrying around to the nearest 10, so you gotta put that 0.0. Are there any questions? Alright, again, because it's Friday and we're really not supposed to be starting new things on Friday, that's why I'm gonna keep it light. Most of this stuff revolves around circumference, which we've already done before. I've hopefully given you at least enough of a little bit of a sneak peek for next week that if you wanna get started on the Delta Math for next week, you can. Does anybody have any questions on anything I've said? Okay, so the people that are at home, you can go already if you want to start logging into Delta Math. You can kind of just take a look at the assignment, and we'll continue this on Monday. No questions for me at home? Alright, have a good weekend. You guys here, if you want to log in, it's up to you. If you want to take a look at the assignment already.
There is a restaurant.
Yeah, go for it.